If you are new to Make and trying to understand how to build out your own automations, you can follow along in this video. This is a very simple automation that I created that uses a Google form, some data transforming using Google Sheets, and then sends an email in Gmail. And this is designed to teach you just some basic principles of triggers and actions inside of Make and help you get better grasp of how to use Make.com to build out your own automations. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Chris. I am the owner of Boolean Automation. We're an automation consulting company that uses no-code tools like Make that you're watching to help streamline business processes. So if that's of value, you can like the video, subscribe to the channel. I work specifically with painting companies at the moment. So if you're a painting company, we've got courses, automation, templates, and everything imaginable to streamline your business operations. So if you're in the painting world, I'd love to connect. If you're just a home service company or a business person, you're going to find value in these videos because we focusing on streamlining business processes and eliminating the busy data entry to ultimately free you up to do what you love. All right, so in this video, I want to walk through a very basic, this will be like a first scenario that you can make. So remember that scenarios is the term that Make uses for a single automation that's going to do something for you. So I came up with a simple one here. We're just going to click create a new scenario. And in this scenario, we're going to have a Google form that triggers an email being sent, but we're going to do a lookup of some additional data. So the first thing that we would do is have, we're going to use the forms. So I'm searching for forms, and it takes a second to pull up here, but we should have to Google. So we grab Google Forms here, and we're going to have a watch responses triggers whenever new response is received. So we're going to use that one and connect it to your account. So if you need to click add and go through the authentication steps there. And then the form ID that we want is the ID that is here in the form. So I'm going to copy that. And I'm also going to name this just make.com example. Name this whatever you want. And then I can paste in that form ID and click. Oh, we don't need to search. Okay, so we're going to say okay. And then the next module, you can hit the plus here. And the next thing that we're going to do is a Google Sheets. So we're going to do Google Sheets. Whoops, I pressed the wrong thing here. Let's delete that. So we're going to delete the module, Google Sheets, and this one's going to be, whoops, I already had that. We want to look up a row. So right here, search rows, we're going to do that one. And we want this sheet that we're going to use is again going to be called make.com example. And then we want the spreadsheet to be, let's go ahead. If you don't see it, you can click this refresh button and search for make.com. There it is, make.com example. And again, because I don't have anything in here, it's just going to be whatever that sheet one is. So we'll just keep this as sheet one. And table contains headers, yes, but there's nothing in there. So we're going to click OK for now. And then the final one that we're going to have is the mail feature, or I think it's called email feature. And we click email, and you could also use like Outlook 365 or whichever one meets your needs there. We're just going to do send an email. And this one I'm going to connect my Chris at Sky account. And you want to save the message after you send. No, we'll come back to all this. So just click OK there. It's saying I have to put somebody in. So I'll just put my own alias in. So just put in your own email. All right. So if we go back to this Google form, what we could do is just simply like, who do you want to email? And you could just have, let's say, we'll put this as a multiple choice. And option 1 is Steve. Option 2 is Mary. Option 3 is John. So we could have those. And then the message, we'll add one more question here. What do you want to tell them? And we'll make this just a short answer. So we can say that. So we're good there. And then let's do one other thing. We could say, what is your favorite ice cream? And this could be, we'll do multiple choice. And let's say that it's mint, chocolate, chip, chocolate, and vanilla. So we've got those options there. And then when we go to actually view this form, we can do a submission here. So I could say Steve, and we say, hope you guys are doing well. And then I'm going to select chocolate. So now before I send this, I can go back to make. And what I need to do here is it's watching for responses. So I'm going to click run once and it's waiting. It looks like it might have just grabbed some test data here. So we're going to click run once again. And I guess we'll go ahead and submit this first. So we submit, and then we're going to click run once. And so the first thing came in here and it has the answers, which was the question. So as we go look, the first answer was 1, and then there's another question, has the ID. The second answer was chocolate. And the next answer, as we expand this, is hope you're doing well. So those are the 3 questions that came in through the form. Now on this one here, let's say that we just have names of employees. So this next step is a super common feature or function that we use in automations often. So we could have those Steve, Mary, John, and we could say that their email is steve@booleanreview.com. And then we've got Mary, which is mary@booleanreview.com, and john@booleanreview.com. So there's the emails. And then the next one, you could even say like phone numbers. So the first one, their phone is 555-1234. And this one is 1235-1236. So those are their phone. Then we could say their title is, let's do prefix. So here we could say Mr., Mrs., and just do Mr. again. So imagine that you've got a whole bunch of information here. In fact, we're going to change Steve's email to Chris, just so I can use him as the example. So we have Chris there, and then Steve, Mary, John, right? All right. So what we were going to have happen here is once the form submission comes in on this sheet here, we want to add in and I've already selected it here, but we want to search in row or column A for a name of an employee. And what we want to pull in column A is the response that they submitted for that one particular question. So we've got right here, the answer is, or the answer for the first one. So where we have Steve, we want to look up Steve in column A. So if you think about what's going to happen here, it's going to look up Steve and it's going to return everything that's in the row that Steve is in. So we're going to, just because we have Steve's name, we're going to get the email, the phone, and the prefix that belongs to Steve. So here you can say, again, because we're looking up Steve, we know that it's going to return the value of those other columns that's in the row for Steve. So I click OK here. And then the last one here is the email. So instead of just always sending it to Chris, we could have this say, we want to take the email of whatever value is in there. So in this case, it's going to find Steve. The email associated with Steve is Chris. And we also have a phone number and prefix. So we could then say, back in this automation here, the subject could be, do you like, and then we have an ice cream. So every module that you use in an automation, you can then, once it's completed, you can then reference the outputs of that module in other ones. So down here, we've got in the Google form, we could take his answer for the one that had the ice cream, which was this. And we say, so I grabbed that value. I just clicked on it. Do you like blank ice cream? And then in the content of the message, I could say, dear, and then we could take that prefix, right? So that's going to be Mr., Mrs., whatever. So Mr., and then we'll take the name of the employee. And then we could do next line and say the message that we included in the Google form, which was the last answer here. So we could say, hope you guys are well. And then the last thing we could do just for fun would say, is this your correct phone number? In this content here, we're mixing a variety of dynamic variables that are going to switch every time with hard coded in. So when I type in the words, that's going to happen every time. These colored boxes are going to dynamically switch. So I say, is this your correct phone number? And then say, we're going to pull in the phone number from the lookup here. All right. So then once you finish putting together the email that you like, we click OK here. So the clock means that it's going to run at regular intervals. I selected this and said I want it to run every 1 minute. So every minute it's going to check for new submissions. And if there are new submissions, then it will process those. So you could have this obviously in a real automation, whatever you want. You could also have it say you only want to run it once a day, or on a particular, when you tell it to run, it can run. But for the sake of this, I'm going to switch it to regular intervals at 1 minute. Now, the last thing you have to do is click the back arrow here and click Save Changes, and then make sure that your automation is on. So it says that it's on, that's great. And now what we're going to do is go over to the form here and say, submit a response. And we're going to pick Steve and say, isn't this automation pretty cool? And we're going to say mint chocolate chip. So I submit that, and now I can come back to make, and we'll watch. And remember, every minute it's going to run. And it looks like it just ran at 8:13. So in the next minute, it should run or process again. And you can see here that it's now 8:14, so it ran again. And if I pull up my email here, I got an email that says, Dear Mr. Steve, isn't this automation pretty cool? Is this your correct phone number? So if we go back, we said the 5551234, and it was Mr. Steve. So if we look at that thing, it looked up Steve, it grabbed my phone number, said Mr., and then it sent it to the Chris at Boolean email. So now, and you also notice that this is all in one line. So a couple of things that we could change here would be, if I go back into this automation, either you can format the email with HTML. So that's the type that I chose, or I could do plain text. And let's go back to HTML. I'm going to copy all this, copy, then switch it to plain text, and now paste in the information there. So plain text allows you to just have it recognize actual characters, whereas HTML, you could do fancy CSS formatting and stuff like that. So if we test this again with a different person, we should be able to see that there's some extra line breaks in here because we're just doing a plain text email. So yeah, that's, we'll go ahead and try one more time here, submit another response, and we'll do Mary, what do you want to tell them? I wonder what this will do. And we're going to say vanilla, submit, and let's switch Mary's email to Natalie at Boolean, because I can check that email. And so then the automation, we have to hit save changes. So we're waiting, and it should process in the next minute or so. And there it goes. So now I can pull up the next email, and here's the email. Do you like vanilla ice cream, dear Miss Mary? Wonder what this will do. Is this the correct phone number? 555-1235. And again, we go look, because we changed it to Natalie 1235, and it says Mrs. Mary. So that's how that works. So hopefully this was valuable. I would definitely encourage you to think, how else could you be using this? But I would say some core principles that hopefully you got from this. These are all individual modules, so you can add as many modules as you'd like. And then also keep in mind that sometimes you'll get certain data in and you need to do something to that data. So a really easy way to do that is to use something like Google Sheets to look up a given row and then pull back a bunch of other information that's associated in that row. And then the final thing is, every single step, you have access to any previous step outputs that were processed prior to getting to that step. So as you can see here, we are pulling in the email feature, or the email from step 3, the answer from step 1, and then in this email content here, we're doing a mixture of both, with hard-coded in words, dynamic words that are switching based on the outputs, and then some formatting and stuff. So hopefully that was valuable. I would encourage you to see what else you could do. Can you send yourself a message in Slack or send a text message? Play around with this, because this is some fundamental principles to continue to do automations later. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this was valuable. Again, please like the video, subscribe for more content like this, and we'll see you next time. This is Chris with Boolean, where we free you up to do what you love.